Hello guys, welcome back to a new music theory video. Today we're going to be learning about a super important topic. I feel like I say that about every topic, but chords are genuinely how we play music. If you ever look up how do I play this song, it's going to show you the chords. Chords are so important. So let's get into it because they're actually easier than you might think. Okay, so what are chords? Chords are when three or more notes are played at the same time. So if I play this, that's a chord. That's actually a really pretty chord. So that's a chord, even though it sounds like just random notes. Or if I play this here, that's a chord too. But chords are built at intervals, and it looks like I didn't finish the slide. But chords are built off intervals. So if you look at my last my video about intervals, you could see where we build them off. So we're going to be looking at a very specific type of chord today because chords like these are pretty, but they're a little bit more complicated, and those are called extensions. So we're going to be looking at the type of chords that are called triads. So a triad is your basic chord. It's a chord with three notes. So we have a few different types of triads. We have a major triad, a minor triad, a suspended triad, a diminished triad, and an augmented triad. So all these different triads have their own use cases, and we can build off them to build our extensions, like I said earlier. But we're just going to focus on triads today. So what makes these triads? So first we have our major triad. This is probably the most basic triad or chord you're going to hear. A major chord consists of the root, the major third, and perfect fifth. It's described as being happy and bright. So you're going to hear this a lot, especially since a lot of music is based off the major scale. You're going to be hearing this chord a lot. Next up is the second most common chord, which is the minor chord. The minor chord is the root, minor third, and perfect fifth. If you're listening to sad music, you're going to hear this. And even if a chord is in a major scale, as you're going to see later, you're going to hear the minor chord. So this chord is commonly used and is described as sad and dark. So next we have the suspended chord. Now, I have a lot of words here, but I'm going to explain them in a way that's simple. So there are two types of suspended chords, a sus4 and a sus2 chord. Suspended chords can be used in a major and a minor key because they do not include a third. And the third determines whether the chord is major or minor. So if we have this chord here, you could probably figure out that's a minor chord because we use the flat third. This chord is a major. But if we don't use this third, we get what's called a suspended chord because it doesn't include the third, which really determines if it's a minor or major. So we have the sus4 and the sus2. And this builds a lot of tension. So, like I said here, it's tense and once resolved because a lot of times when a sus chord is used, it's used to build tension towards the chord that's coming after it. So let's say I'm playing this minor chord. And I'm going to go to a sus chord. So you don't know if I'm going to go down to this major third or this minor third. So you could really use it in that sense. So let's say I'm playing a progression, right? Let's do this. Sorry, my piano is like really small. It's like a little MIDI. So I'm going to play a... So from here, from this sus, I could resolve down to a minor or to a major. But you could also use a sus on its own, but it's usually used to build tension towards the chord that you want to resolve to. So sus chords consist of the root. A sus4 chord consists of root, perfect fourth, and perfect fifth. And then the sus2 chord consists of the, let me just fix that here because it says sus4 chord. Sus2 chord consists of the root, major second, and perfect fifth. So that's sus chords. And a diminished chord consists of the root, minor third, and diminished fifth. So this chord can also be used to build tension. It's an unstable chord, right? You're not going to just use this on its own. Okay, so usually a diminished chord is kind of used to build tension toward your root chord. So let's say I'm doing a 6, 7, and then I'm going to do this. See how much tension I built? But it's also part of the chords in a key. So I'll show you later what that means, but usually a diminished chord is kind of built to keep tension, and it's a bit unstable. So you don't really use it on its own, and you don't really resolve to it. The only chords you really resolve to are going to be your major and your minor chords. Next is the augmented chord. The augmented chord is used probably even less than a diminished chord. I rarely see it, but it does have a use case. So the augmented chord consists of the root, major third, and augmented fifth, which is just a raised fifth. If you don't know what any of this means, in my interval video, we go over what an augmented fifth is, a major third, and everything like that. So it has a dreamy tone to it. Okay, so how we label chords. We label chords using Roman numerals. So there's a lot of words here, but it's not that complicated. Depending on whether the chord is major or minor, we'll use an uppercase or lowercase numeral, right? So if I'm playing a C major chord, so let's imagine we're in a C scale, right? This can be any scale, but we're going to see as an example. If I want to play the E, that is the third, let's put major scale, right? I want to play the E. That is the third note of the scale. So that is the third chord we're going to play. And because in this case it's a minor, you might be like, why is it a minor? We're going to get to that in a second. Because it's a minor chord, we're going to put this as a lowercase 3. So we would label this as the third chord with the lowercase Roman numeral. And if we want to write the one chord, which is a C major, we would write that as an uppercase 1. Since this is our major and this is our minor. So let's say we have a diminished chord, which would be the 7th chord, the B. We have a B diminished. This B diminished would be written like this. It would be written as a V-I-I because it's the 7th chord in the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we play the triad. We're going to have a little degree symbol above it. So to play chords, you could really look at it as just skipping a note in the scale, right? So think about, we have our set scale as C major scale. So you want to play, okay, how do I play a D chord? I don't know if it's a minor or major scale. So we're going to play D. We're going to skip this F, go to this G. We're skip this E, go to this F. And then we're going to skip this F and go to this A. So you can really do that. So if we're in a C minor chord, a C minor scale, I'm like, okay, I want to play this A flat chord. I don't know how to play it. So I would go A. And then I would skip this B flat. I would go to this C. I would skip this D, and I would go to this E flat. So now we have that A flat major chord. So you really could skip it, but you have to use your scale to know. But since in C minor we don't have a B in the scale, we would not skip this B flat to go to a B. We would skip the B flat to go to a C, and then to an E flat. So if we have an augmented chord, let's say we're playing we want to play a chord in the scale. Let's say we want to play a 5 augmented. So I want to play a 5 augmented. So I'll put a 5 with a little plus in the chord. So if we're going to use a sus chord, we are not going to use Roman numerals because we kind of have to name it in a weird way. So if you have a sus chord, you would just label it as a C sus 4 or as a C sus 2 or like a D sus 4. Like, it doesn't really matter. But you won't really use a Roman numeral for this. The only reason why the Roman numerals are helpful is because a lot of chord progressions are written out. Or someone will tell you chord progression and be like, that's a 1, 5, 6, 4. And you'll be like, what does that mean? It means you're playing the 1 chord, the 6 chord, the 5 chord, and then the 4 chord. Okay, so here are the chords that we're going to use in a major scale. This is very important to remember. So our 1 chord is a major chord. Our 2 chord is a minor chord. Our 3 chord is a minor chord. Our 4 chord is a major chord. Our 5 chord is a major chord. Our 6 chord is a minor chord. And our 7th chord is a diminished chord. So remember this because it's very important. So we're going to do C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished. The reason why it's this specific order is because the notes of the scale give us, let's say like we're in a C major scale, right? We have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Because if we stack the thirds on top of each other from D to F to A, that gives us a minor chord. And if it's like we take the E, it stacks up to be a minor chord. So that's the reason why it's like that. The the intervals that we have give us a minor chord, because if we did this, it would be major chord, but we don't have this key in our scale, so we're just going to use the key that we have in our scale, which will give us a minor chord for a third. So now, for the minor scale, keep in mind, everything is going to switch. All these chords that are major are now going to be minor, and then, so all the keys before that were major are now minor. Like in the major scale, this was like uppercase. These were major, and these were all minor. So only thing that switches between a major scale and a minor scale that is not, is a 2 and a 7 chord switch. So instead of the 7 being diminished, the 2 chords are diminished, and everything else switched from minor to major, right? So let's see. C minor. We have C minor, D diminished, E flat major, F minor, G minor, A flat major, D flat major, and then C minor. So I will not be going into chord functions in this video. I'm going to probably have like 4 videos on chords, since chords are so important. So look at this. I'm going to write out the chords for the major scale, so I could just show you what I mean. Okay, so I hope this can show you that every chord that was a major is now a minor. So how this 1 chord was a major, now it's a minor. This 4 chord was a major, now it's a minor. This 5 chord was a major, now it's a minor. And how all the minor chords are now major, except for the 2, which we're going to get into. This 3 chord is now a major. This 6 chord is now a major. And the only thing that switches is that this diminished 2nd and diminished 7th. So in the major chord, when we have in the major scale where we have a diminished 7th, that's going to switch into a diminished 2nd in the minor scale, and then the 7th chords become a major 7th chord. Just like this diminished 7 is going to turn into a diminished 7th chord in the major scale. So it's actually kind of simple if you just remember it like that, how everything just flips except for those 2 chords, which they substitute for each other. And if there's any questions, just let me know down below, and like and subscribe to have more music theory videos. And we're now gonna have like probably 4 or 5 videos on chords, because there's just so much. Extensions, substitutions, yeah, mode interchange, but not yet. We're gonna have extensions, inversions, functions of a chord, which is very important, yeah, and stuff like that. So